Hello gamers, my name is Ace and you're watching the Ace Station. This week we're going to be talking about E3. Before we start, I would like to point out that I'm not going to be talking about any video game that was shown at E3. Instead, we're going to talk about the press conferences that took place between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. This is going to be a three-part video, one with Microsoft, one with Nintendo, and one with Sony, based on my opinions on each of them. So let's start off with Microsoft. Out of all three press conferences, I did not find Microsoft too strong in this one. It was pretty boring. They didn't surprise us with anything we didn't already know about. They just focused primarily on the Natal, also now called the Kinect, but I refuse to call it that. I'm still going to call it the Natal. Way cooler name. But they didn't focus too much on the system. Yeah, they introduced the new 360 Slim, awesome, but that was pretty much the only surprise, which we already knew about. It wasn't really a surprise. But anyways, going back to the Natal, one thing that disappointed me out of the whole trying to sell us the Natal was the fact that they did not have a true solid title for it. They had a year and a half or maybe 2 years to develop a solid title, and all they came up with is carnival games, essentially, basic games to kind of show you what the Natal can do. And it was just really weird that Microsoft didn't put a lot of attention into one game, at least one game, a hot title that sells the Natal. Now, even though that's going to turn some heads for people, because I've been reading in the forums that a lot of people are upset, thinking, oh, this is lame, this camera whatever is not going to be anything, it's going to die out and all that stuff. You know what? I'm actually optimistic. I think it's going to be fine. It's the first generation of games for it. Next year, they're probably going to start popping out games. They didn't show anything, but there's E3 next year, so you'll probably start seeing hardcore titles coming out for the Natal. Shit we didn't even think of. And that's another thing I like to point out. It's an optional peripheral. If you don't want it, don't get it. It's easy to hate things, but you know what? A lot of you that are hating it right now, there might be a title that does come out next year and you're like, whoops, maybe I should get it. I watched my friend play it and actually it does look fun. So you can't necessarily put it down. If you're a fanboy of 360, you want to support it. And you're going to have a lot of people who are going to go to the 360 just because of the Natal. I actually honestly believe that. So look at it as an optional choice. You do not have to buy it. It's not like a computer where you have to update it in order to play the latest and greatest game. It's not going to happen. It's purely optional. You can still sit down on your ass, grab a controller, and play your Halo and everything else like that. They're not going to stop making games for people with a controller. But it is surprising that there is no hardcore title. I was watching Attack of the Show, and it was Adam Sessler, Jessica Chobot was a guest star, and Kevin Pierre were all sitting down talking about how they felt about the press conference. Jessica Chobot came up with an interesting idea that wouldn't be cool if, like, for instance, Mass Effect 3, you're sitting there with your controller, you're playing your game, and a terminal pops out of the screen and you're sitting there using the Natal to type on it and stuff like that. That's imaginative thinking right there. And it's like, we got to sit down and trust the fact that developers are going to come up with some really innovative stuff for games. They're going to combine the Natal with the controller, with a lot of games. Fable 3 is going to be one of them. For people who are excited about Fable 3, there's going to be a Natal feature. Who knows? Maybe you'll be doing the gestures with yourself. Imagine you're sitting there, you're moving around your character, some asshole walks past you, you can now give him the middle finger instead of going to the gesture command, selecting the middle finger. Someone walks by you, you can wave at them and your character will wave at them. To me, that's cool. I could see that. I could see people sitting on their butt, holding on a controller and waving, at someone that walks by. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a gimmick, but why not? And then also, a lot of people are arguing about the $150 price tag. I think they announced that it's $140 now, is the official. But I agree, it's expensive. but then you also have to look at the hardware behind it. The damn thing rotates when you move. It has facial recognition. It can tell if you're male or female. It can tell, it understands your voice, and it's personalized to you and everything else like that. And, that's a lot of sophisticated hardware under the hood. The parts for it are expensive now. The parts will eventually be cheap. You're going to see a price drop in the Natal. It probably drop down to $99 and eventually be $80, whatever. So if you're not willing to pay $150, just give it a year when the parts become cheaper to make it, and they're going to sell it cheaper. So, that's another way of looking at it. But you can sit down and you could probably think up a shit ton of games that could go with the Natal. That should be the ideas that excite you for it, or to be motivated for it. You might be hating it now, but think of the possibilities that could be, and just hope that the developers are smart enough. Microsoft built it. It's up to the developers to use it. So let's support the developers. Start bouncing on the forums. I can't stress how many times that the developers do pay attention to what you type on the forums. It may not seem like it, but they actually do. If you're like, hey, I just came up with an awesome idea for, let's say, the next Mech Assault game, where wouldn't it be cool if you can see your friend on the top right corner of the screen or whatever, or maybe there's some voice commands that will control your mech that may be faster than hitting a button. Who knows? I don't know, but I'm sure you can come up with some ideas. But I do believe we're going to see some kick-ass shit come out for it. Obviously not this year, but next year we should. So you can either hold off, wait for a price drop, get it now, enjoy it now, put it off to the side, let it collect dust until something more worth it is, coming out down the road. All right, I really can't think of anything else to say about the Microsoft press conference. Like I said, it was pretty straight up, everything we've already known about. There was like no surprises whatsoever. But I'm going to start another video. It will be about Nintendo, so please tune in. If you liked what I said about Microsoft, maybe you're curious about Nintendo. If not, I hope you enjoyed what I said. If you hate me now, I apologize. Send the emails, go ahead. But what I will ask you to do is please leave comments and what your opinions are about the press conference. Maybe you'll point out something that I didn't think about, or maybe I gave you a new perspective. Let me know. I'd love to hear it. All right? Yeah, stay tuned to Nintendo's press conference, my opinions on that. My name is Ace, and thank you for watching the A Station.